Hi, in this session, we'll see the scopes in JavaScript. Let's start with some simple scopes like global scope and local scope, and then proceed with more complicated scenarios with the scopes. So let's start with the global scope. Global var is equal to this is global, okay? And then we have a function definition called global var and the console dot log global var. So in this case, if I have to call the function, so this is the definition of the function. Now I am calling the function call global var with the two braces. Okay. So now what happens in this case? Node scopes. Okay. This is global. So if you see here, the function is able to access the global variable. Okay. Now let's define a variable using let, which is local to this function. So you call it local var, right? Is equal to is local. Okay. Now I want to access this local var outside this function. Let me call console.log and local var. Okay. Now what happens in this case? This is local to this function. It is like you have a clubhouse in your community. The clubhouse is accessed by all the different apartments, right? Can be accessible by all the apartment members. Okay. And in that clubhouse, if you have a TT table, the TT table is accessible and everyone can play with the TT. But now in the case of, suppose the TT table was in your house, do you expect everyone to come to your house to play? No. It's the same concept here. So locally, if something is there, you cannot access it globally. And if it is available globally, you can access it locally. Okay, so now let's see what happens in this case. It's not able to access and it reports the error. Now let's see an outer function and inner function scopes. Okay, so let's have a function func and let it have a variable called count. Okay, then I have another function which is return and I increment this. Okay, and I have console dot log count. So now I say const out is equal to let me see outer here. Okay, so this will now represent this function. Okay, so what I will do, I'll say outer and again I'll call outer second time. So this is first call, this is second call. So when you say outer, it basically calls this function definition. So what happens in this case? Let's see. So here I have node and counter. So you see the outer func returns this function definition, and this function definition is called here. So it increments twice. So if I call again, it is 1, 2, 3. So basically, you have an outer function where the variable count is defined, and that can be used within the inner function, and this inner function increments it. So that's with regard to the outer function and inner function. And please note that this inner function definition is written here. It is not the execution. So you call that function here using outer, and that is how the increment happens. So we have seen that the state is maintained and incremented in the count. Now suppose I had one more outer 2 equal to out func, and then I call the definition again with outer 2 twice. Okay, so let's see what happens in the first call and the second call. This is the first call, this is the second call. So it says 1, 2, 3, that is for this one, and then 1, 2 for this one. So you see the state is maintained for this set of calls separately, and the state is maintained for this set of calls separate. That is, the outer 2 has its own set of state, has its own state, and the outer has its own state. So this is to be noted, how the state is maintained across the calls. Next, we will see how the async functions and the scopes behave. Okay, so let's take a async dot sync example dot js. Okay, so let's say outer func outer async func, and let's say this as a variable outer is equal to, this is outer, and I have the set timeout. Okay, say after 5000 seconds, sorry, first is the handler. Okay, and this is called after 5000 seconds. So after 5000 seconds, console.log, let me see whether I am able to access the outer variable. Okay, so here I will call out, so same as, so we wait 5 seconds to see whether the log is yes. So if you see here, the set timeout has a callback function which is getting called after 5 seconds. So the asynchronous function is still able to access the outer functions variable. So if there is an async function inside a function, it has the ability to access the outer variables. So to summarize, we have seen global variables, local variables, how the state is maintained using a inner function and an outer function, and also how the async func can access the outer variable of the outer function. Hope the concepts are clear, and thank you very much.